Hi, I'm Amy Teller. I teach a number of courses in the DMC program, including Intro to Digital Marketing, Audience Segmentation, Mobile Marketing, and even Customer Engagement, Ethics, and Strategy. I also do some consulting work. So I've been working with a number of startups in the marketing space where I literally apply the concepts that we teach in this program. So things like conducting internal and external competitive analyses, segmentation, targeting, and positioning, brand strategy, kind of devising that marketing mix, so the product, price, place, and digital promotional strategies. I also do a lot of work with personal branding. And so, how to cultivate an authentic personal brand. And I'm also a student. So, I'm actively getting my doctorate right now in educational policy planning and leadership. And it's really great because it's giving me this kind of deeper empathy for my students, right? It's really kind of informed my approach to teaching, namely by kind of coming up with a deeper appreciation, not only in terms of workload management and how challenging it can be to kind of balance those multiple demands on your time, but also just the cognitive load and that kind of intellectual lift that's involved in learning new concepts and ideas and constructs. And so I try to kind of bring that level of understanding to the virtual classroom, particularly in how I approach not only teaching the concepts, but also in my qualitative feedback. I teach in the program for a number of reasons. First, I'm just really passionate about marketing, right? And I really enjoy sharing my knowledge with students. And it's also really rewarding when you see that light bulb moment, right? When those concepts click. But also, I just really believe in the DMC program. I think it really offers students kind of those tangible skill sets that are needed to be really successful in the marketing industry. But truthfully, honestly, I mainly teach in the program because I just love the students, right? This gives me an opportunity to teach students around the country and around the world, right? And each of these students have different backgrounds and different personal and professional experiences. And I find that this gives me the opportunity to learn from them, hopefully as much as they learn from me as well. Well, one kind of simple way to kind of try to keep things relevant is just referencing current examples from those brands that I know that students are engaging with, because adult learners are really more motivated to learn when they understand the reasons behind acquiring the knowledge and can apply it, right? And I believe there really is a lot of value and utility in directly applying the concepts that we learn in class in a way that can make an actionable impact. So, for example, many of my students, not all of them, but a lot of them are actually actively working in the industry. And so I try to leverage that in a couple of fundamental ways, kind of try to help bridge that gap between theory and practice. So first is I encourage students to really apply those concepts to their current context and to create, maybe a proposal that they could present to their supervisor. So I had one student who was actually worked as a social media manager for a dance studio, and she created a digital marketing campaign proposal to present to the owner of the studio. And so she conducted a target analysis and created a social media campaign, taking into consideration the studio's unique value proposition, what the wants and needs of the target market were, and kind of designed a social media advertising campaign with branding elements, messaging, promotional tactics, all that resonated with this specific demographic. And I think they actually implemented some of those recommendations. I'm not sure, I'd have to follow up with that. But, and also I just encourage students to share their experiences working in the industry with their peers in the discussion forum. And so I try to create a feeling of kind of like a community of learning in the discussion space, because that kind of deeper learning often kind of emerges from that rich social discourse that can take place. And the discussion board really is the perfect modality that allows students to learn not only with, but also from their peers. Well, connecting directly with students is literally one of my favorite things. And so I, of course, set up virtual hours to connect with students, to provide additional support. I'm always available via email. I know sometimes students have a small window that they can devote to their, studies. So if they have a question, I try to get back to them really quickly. But another way I connect and kind of engage with students is through audio and video feedback in both the discussion forums and the written assignments. And one of my favorite ways, though, to engage with students is to offer a welcome session at the beginning of each course and live lessons throughout the course. So these are synchronous sessions where students actually can join me via Zoom, and I go over some specific concepts from the course and that directly apply to specific assignments. I let them know kind of what my specific expectations are, answer any questions that they might have, right? Because I know that students often learn in different ways and through, different modalities. And those live lessons, which I always record and post for anyone who can't join us live, but I think they can offer real clarity for students. And I think both the welcome sessions and the live lessons are really critical to try to bridge that digital disconnect, right? That can happen, sometimes in those fully asynchronous online learning spaces. And just to reassure students that they're not working in isolation, right? That we're all interconnected. We're all in this together. In fact, for example, I just met with a student this past week who really emphasized how helpful the live lessons have been in really helping her understand some of the concepts. She said that she's much more of like a visual audio learner, and so trying to understand some of these concepts just through all the text was a little bit challenging for her. So offering this as another way to not only connect, but to help her understand was really valuable. I also like to connect with students on a personal level, right? So I try to keep in touch with my students. And in fact, one of my favorite student experiences that I'm really proud of is when one student recently connected with me on LinkedIn and just thanked me for, career advice that really helped her in landing a new position. And so things like that are just really rewarding and bring me a lot of joy, but also just make everything that I do just so, worth it and memorable. I would love to visit Hogwarts because I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and I just think it would be really fun to kind of dive into that kind of, mythical environment, magical. It is so funny that you asked that. I literally just had this discussion with some members of my cohort, and there is a site you can go to where you take a quiz and it'll actually assign you. I have not done that, but they said I definitely would be a Hufflepuff. So I'm not really sure why, but there you go.